Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folare. Well, it's a Friday, last program for the week, and our guest this morning is Senator Ajibola Basiru. Senator Basiru is the senator representing Osun Central District, and he's also the official spokesman of the Nigerian Senate. Senator Ajibola Basiru, a fine morning to you, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Uncle Yori. How are you doing?
Very well, sir. Thank you very much for making time for us. Our viewers will soon see your face, but for the moment they heard you loud and clear, so we are in contact, and the other part of it will soon be known. There, everything, the whole package is now complete. We can see and hear you now. So, as I was saying, thank you very much. We are in different times. This hasn't happened before, but it is happening now. The election is just, less than 3 weeks away, and we're still in the middle of a currency change that is causing all sorts of anxieties around the country. And, the central bank, I beg your pardon, the Supreme Court has has entered into the mix. So I wanted to ask from you, what is your sense, your understanding of the official position? Because as you know, the Supreme Court, and this is excellent because you're a former Attorney General of your state, so these matters are you're very conversant with these matters. Just where exactly do we stand now in terms of whether or not we can continue to spend the old Naira?
I think Nigeria is in, unfortunately, a very precarious situation. There is a difference between whether you have an order of court and whether that order of court is capable of being supervised or being rendered odious by the actions of those who are supposed to implement, the order. My understanding is that the Supreme Court granted an interim order staying action on taking the old notes out of circulation. But unfortunately, even before that order was granted, the CBN had made a representation to Nigerian people that the new note will not be acceptable after 31st of January. By 31st of January, I will say that more than 99.9% of the old notes in circulation have been returned to the CBN. And the CBN, as people were depositing those money, were refusing to give out the new notes, the old notes out. They were also refusing to give the new notes out. So even when the CBN gave an extension till February 10, practically that extension is actually meaningless because the bulk of the old notes are largely out of circulation. Then when the Supreme Court also gave its order, the order is just in limbo because the CBN is not giving out the old notes. The only old notes they are giving out, which is not the Redesign notes, that is the 20 Naira and the 50 Naira notes. Because I made an inquiry in my senatorial district here in Osun, and I discovered that the CBN is not giving out new notes to the banks. They are asking them to come and pick up old 50 Naira notes and 20 Naira notes. And you could just imagine if you need to withdraw 200,000 Naira and they have to give you in 20 Naira or 50 Naira denomination. I will say, and it's rather unfortunate that we put, and I say this word advisedly, incompetent people, unpatriotic people at the ends of our financial sector in Nigeria. Because I believe that in coming out with a circular, even on what they call a cashless economy, the initial proposition was that every Nigerian would be entitled as individual to take 100,000 per week. Of course, with the intervention of the Senate, the circular was drafted to make it 500,000 cash per week for individuals and 5 million Naira for corporate body. One will assume that based on data available to the CBN of the depositors in every bank, at least 60% of the required threshold of the withdrawal should have been made available to all the banks. But that was not to be. I made inquiry frantically from banks in Osogbo, and they told me, and I firmly believe, that deliberately the CBN is not giving out the new note to the bank. And this has even put people who work in the bank in jeopardy, because the impression being given by the CBN that there are enough new notes in the banks is creating a situation whereby Nigerians are believing that it is the people who are in the banks that are not giving out the money. But that is not the truth based on my finding. So I would say that the question of order of court is one thing. The question whether there is the willingness and the atmosphere that would let the order of Supreme Court to be implemented and implementable is another thing, as it were. So there's still no succor for Nigerian people despite the order of the Supreme Court.
Why, Senator Basiru, do you think, and here I'm asking for your personal opinion, you're a politician, a high-ranking Nigerian, you usually have your ear to the ground. Apart from that, the way you interpret these matters will probably be different from what one hears in the beer parlors and tombo bars. So my question is, why do you think all of this is happening now? You recall that Ajibola met Tinubu on a campaign a rally recently, had actually said that all of this was intended to frustrate, agitate the Nigerian public, I'm paraphrasing him now, and possibly goad them into action that could lead to a crisis, the end of which would be an interim kind of government arrangement. Ashwaju didn't provide any details. He just made the statement. So the question to you is, what's your understanding of why this is happening? The president is from your party, the candidate is from your party, yet your candidate is reading that the powers that be in a government that is run by his own party is trying to trick them into misbehaving so that actions could be taken which would not be in his favor.
Yes, Yori, I'm not speaking for Ajibola Tinubu, and I'm not taking his brief. Of course, he's my leader, my mentor, and my benefactor. But I speak personally. I think I feel sad that Nigerians will be put through the pains that we're going through now. Presently, I think it's rather very meaningless and rather callous for anybody put in the position of responsibility to implement a program of government in a way that inflicts untold hardship on majority of the Nigerian people. No matter what the motive could be for such, I think it's rather callous and reprimandable. And I will also say, with respect to our president, President Muhammadu Buhari, that I don't think we are alive as a government, and I'm not insulating myself to our responsibility to the oath that we have sworn to under the Nigerian Constitution. Section 14 of the Constitution expressly states that security and welfare of the people should be the paramount purpose of governance. What we are witnessing today is capable of jeopardizing security of the people, and certainly is already affecting negatively the welfare of our people. Many of our daily workers are finding it hard to survive. Many of our traders are finding it hard to trade. And many of our schoolgoers are also having challenges in being able to be alive to responsibility. Even I, as a senator of Federal Republic of Nigeria, I cannot boast of having 25,000 naira cash to be able to give. And of course, you have a lot of dependents. You have a lot of people that look towards you for support. And the unfortunate thing is also that the financial technology industry of Nigeria is still not very savvy to be able to take the kind of demands that is being put on it. Now on the conspiracy theory, I think as a lawyer, you make inferential deduction from what has happened. The question that has stayed in my mind is this: why wait till a month before election before you implement a redesign policy of government? why can't the distribution of money wait until March 12th, when the election would have been, over? Or why not do it mid-2022? Why the timing? So the timing itself create an inference of possible conspiracy. Secondly, the haphazard and very incompetent manner by which the implementation is also being done also give inference to a deliberate attempt to create situation of anarchy, situation of helplessness, situation of hopelessness, and of course, situation of frustration for a majority of Nigerians. Many productive hours are being wasted by Nigerians on queue on ATM that will never dispense. Or when they dispense 2,000 naira and they take 3,500 naira from those people who have taken that money. It is unfair for anybody. If it is as a sort of a political consideration, it's certainly unfair. And if I use the word satanica to seek to inflict maximum pain on people on that account, I'm not oblivious of the fact that there are elements within the present government. I'm not talking of the president. There are also elements within our political party that never wanted Ajibola Tinubu to emerge as a candidate of the party. But one would have thought that when the battle has been fought and won at the primary, then all hands should be on deck to ensure a successful sale for Ajibola Tinubu presidency. But at last, you are seeing a situation whereby there appear to be some hurdles being thrown in the way of a smooth sale of an Ajibola presidency. But it's clear, and we are making this message in our campaign. Whether they make Naira available, whether they make fuel available, we are urging Nigerians to come out and vote for Ajibola Tinubu. We believe that from his pedigree, from his experience, from his commitment to development, is a person that will be able to attend to and address myriads of challenges that our country is facing in the context of global economic challenges occasioned by COVID-19 pandemic and the ongoing Ukrainian-Russian crisis.
Well, thank you very much, Senator Basiru. You see, as you spoke about it there, in fact, you used the word deliberate and deliberately at different times because one is wondering what exactly is going on. Now, people are telling us, people who read up on the laws of the country, they're telling us that, well, you see, this is about the central bank governor. It is the central bank. There's an act and all of that. So, it is the central bank that is handling all of this. Now, you don't even need to be a lawyer to know that the president is still in charge. And this kind of an action could not happen without the approval of President Muhammadu Buhari. That is without prejudice to the fact that the central bank and all its laws and all its functions and all its jurisdiction, that is there. But there's no way the central bank is going to move in a way that will scatter the whole country, potentially, without getting Mr. President's approval. After all, the other day, as we say locally, the other day, SSS was desirous of arresting the central bank governor, but they couldn't do it because you need the approval of the president to arrest the central bank governor. And there was the central bank governor being seen on television at a meeting with the president. So it was clear that they were not able to get the approval of the president, and therefore that couldn't happen. So you're the lawyer, you're the former attorney general, and we are the, what do you call us? I forget, unlearned. We are the unlearned. So please help us a bit to understand this whole matter about how people, including your very good self this morning, you virtually sort of absolved Mr. President from this whole matter.
I did not, what I say is that I did not absolve Mr. President.
Okay.
I said I did not even absolve myself as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria because I swore, just like Mr. President, to uphold the Constitution. And I did say here that responsibility under the Constitution is security and welfare of the people. To the extent that the action of the CBN governor undermined Nigerian security. You have seen breakdown of law and order in Ibadan and Abeokuta.
Yes.
And also potential potentials of breakdown of law and order in other parts of the country. I've also read of the blockade of Benin Road, in Ondo State. So what I'm saying is that I've not absorbed Mr. President, and I've also not absorbed myself as a senator representing Nigerian people. We swore to uphold the Constitution. To that extent, the argument of creating a facade between Mr. President and the CBN governor will not hold water. The question anybody will ask is that, as a president, will you sit aloof seeing Nigerian people becoming beggars when they have a deposit in a bank? Do you sit aloof talking about a law when Nigerian people spend almost all their productive hours queuing under scorching sun to be able to even get paltry amount of 2,000 naira, for which they would part away with 3,500 naira? At the debate on the cashless policy of the CBN, I remember when I raised the issue that the threshold set by the CBN will send millions of our POS operators out of business. That has become a reality now. I remember that the Deputy President of the Senate, who presided over that day, was referring to law. And I said, and the tape is there, is also in the answer, that law is made for man and not man made for law. You cannot, on the altar of law, inflict hardship on the people of the country. In any event, all over the world, there is doctrine of necessity that would bring down implementation of any legal or policy decision that will inflict hardship. So in this regard, I've also caused to issue a statement that the proposition that the president wants to wait for 7 days before he will take a position on it is rather preposterous. I was joking with somebody. Does he want to go to the mountain for 7 days to possibly get a spiritual solution to what is rather a practical solution? If CBN had in custody, and I believe they must still have the old notes, if they are not pushing out the new notes, let them push out the old notes. This is not the first country where there will be a redesigning policy, or what they call the monetization policy. In Saudi Arabia, they were spending their riyadh, old one and the new one, for years. In United Kingdom, the polymer of the 5, 10, and 20 pound bill was spent together with the old bill for a long period of time. The same thing with the rest of America. You don't wake up and say within a period of 45 days, you want to take off billions of naira from circulation without replacing it with even a quantum of even up to 10% of what you have taken out of circulation. So I suspected that Mr. President should have summoned the CBN and his management to come and let them know what is even the quantum of money they are put in circulation. What are the logistics they are put in place to be able to ensure that Nigerians are not put through this untold hardship, particularly at this crucial moment of transition. And of course, you cannot blame anybody thinking that possibly these are being put in place as booby trap to ensure that the 2023 general election will not be successful. Exactly. I begin to get the feeling that there are elements that doesn't want us to transit democratically in 2023.
Indeed. And in fact, those questions that you were are sort of imagining the president might want to ask after calling a meeting of the relevant officials, including the central bank governor, I can just sit here and stick my neck out and say that Mr. President has the answers to those questions at his fingertips. Because I still want to go back to my, if you want to call it, unlearned attitude of, you can't move forward like this as central bank governor without Mr. President giving a tacit nod of approval. But let's leave that. You've spoken on that. One of the other issues.
No. Let me address the issue of approval. Okay. You see, I've been in government. I've been in government before at the executive level. Yes, you could give approval for the designing of the notes, but the nitty-gritty of implementation should be carried out by a competent management. I have doubts about the competence of the management of the CBN, and I say it with all sense of responsibility. I'm not a banker, but of course, I've handled government affairs before. I've handled what I call logistic nightmare before. Getting money out of circulation and replacing it with another set of notes should not be a nightmare. If you are taking 10 billion out of circulation, even if you place in 5 billion and you distribute it evenly among the banks, I don't think we'll run into this. Then you don't seek to put two things together. At the same time that you are talking of cashless policy, which had actually failed, because this cashless policy had been in operation for almost about 6 or 7 years, left unimplemented. You now want to do a double barrel approach without putting necessary money. So yes, the president approved the designing of the notes. Of course, the CBN, by its act, can come up with policy on cashless and threshold or withdrawal. But then the implementation must be done in such a way that will not inflict the present hardship on the Nigerian people. In fact, the international community will be looking at us as if we're a banana republic, a country that cannot engage its citizens in being able to meet their daily demands of even survival.
Indeed, and as you said, you're not holding brief for the president or anybody else, but you're just saying this the way you see it. Among the reasons we were given to understand why this exercise was necessary is that there are a number of things that have to be addressed. I think they mentioned security, that there's a security aspect to it. Maybe all these criminals and all of that, it was supposed to have a salutary effect. Then there's the other matter, unspoken. But I think, personally now, that it is considered that Ajibola Ahmed Tinubu is a man of means. And such is the extent of such means that it possibly could aid him. Now, I don't know how these things work, but if it is felt that a man of such extensive means, as we are dealing with here, is in the race, then it looks like again, I fall back on the unlearned, uninformed aspect. It follows that such a man, if you can just, frustrate them a bit, prevent access to any such means, then, maybe the desires of some would have been achieved. Now, it's ludicrous, I know, but this is what one is hearing that is like, because when you don't have the truth, you have all sorts of speculation. Additionally, Senator, the security aspect, we have seen pictures on social media of terrorists flaunting the notes that Nigerians are at the banks for hours for. Say, look at your wahala doing yourself. Look at the notes here. So, Senator, go ahead and comment, please. And how you...
I will first say that that's why I mentioned, and with respect, using the word incompetence against people who are supposed to be professionals is not good. But I have had cause to, when this crisis began, to conduct study of where such kind of experience had been put in place before. One of such places, is India, when they came up with the demonetization of certain higher denominations, and the same set of arguments that have been canvassed by the handlers of the CBN were also canvassed then in India. One, they talk about security, they talk about counterfeiting of currency, they talk about illicit funding for money laundering, and of course, they talk about a large amount of money being put in, being outside the banking circulation. Those were the same set of arguments that was preferred in India to take high domination out of circulation in India. But the same India inflicted hardship, just as the CBN of Nigeria is inflicting hardship on our people. At the end of the day, when an assessment was done years after, the same high denominations were introduced. Even higher denomination was still introduced in India. Research also showed that illicit demonetization, also corruption was also not addressed. And of course, counterfeiting is as age-long as currency itself. It's something that you cannot wish away by just saying that you redesign or do everything like something like that. So an experience like this had occurred in India. One would have thought that the policymakers in Nigeria, in the CBN, should have studied what happened in other countries. Why did they fail? How did they fail? So that in coming up with this position, they will be able to also come to that. Then addressing the question of our leader, Asiwaju, being a man of means. He's a man of means not because in terms of naira and kobo or dollar and cents. He's a man of means because he has invested in so many people, including myself, that we are using our own personal resources to campaign for him. Even if I'm not on the ballot as a senator, I would definitely be under obligation to use my resources to campaign for Ajibola Tinubu and ensure that he emerge. Not only because he has been a benefactor to some of us, because we also believe that he's somebody that has a track record of upliftment of the people, of coming up with programs that revolutionize infrastructure in Lagos State, revolutionize governance, and revolutionize public finance and management. So whether they take Naira out of circulation, even if they ban outright spending of Naira, that would not, affect the goodwill that a lot of Nigerians, including some of us, have in Ajibola Tinubu, leadership. So if it is because of Asiwaju that some people want to inflict hardship on Nigerians, we want to beg them not to inflict unnecessary hardship on Nigerian people, because Asiwaju, by the grace of Almighty God, is a person of destiny, is a man that has a date with Nigerian people on 25th of February 2023, and definitely by the grace of God, by the dint of his commitment to uplifting so many other people, he will carry the day on that day.
Okay, Senator Basiru, I'm going to take a break now. Please stay with us. We'll be right back, and when we come back, we'll include your calls as well. Stay with us, please. Welcome back. Our guest is Senator Ajibola Basiru. I think we're reaching him from Osun. I'm not sure. It could be Osun, it could be Abuja, but we do have Senator Ajibola Basiru with us. He's the official spokesman of the Senate, and we're talking about insecurity, Naira design, and other matters. In the meantime, thank you very much, Reverend Dominic, for coming on and holding on till we came back from break. Go ahead now, sir.
Good morning, Chief Yori.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Senator Basiru.
Yeah, good morning.
For the first time, I, Reverend Dominic, have agreed with Senator Basiru. Our view doesn't align most of the time, but this morning, he have done justice to this particular topic. Because I've said it several times that we that support Asiwaju and the APC somehow should take responsibility so we can calm the nerves for Nigeria. And Senator have done that this morning. Because denying APC or the president of, or the CBN, it makes us irresponsible people. But let me say this. I support Asiwaju 100%. Why? I have reason for that. He's courageous. He's visionary. What brought us to this point we are is vision. That things we, most of us, doesn't say in public. I'm going to say it now because of the phone call I've seen for over 34 days. When the CBN governor had ambition to become a president, I called some few people, some few friends who is in college of power. I said, please, let Mr. President let this man go. Vision, ambition is like ideology. When it takes over a man, it consumes him. If you have had visionary to let this man go, the new CBN will not jump into this policy because the new CBN will not jump into this policy. He will first of all acclimatize himself with the blockers of CBN before any policy that can hurt anybody. But no, Mr. President left India, just like Senator has said, and left him not to bring this policy. Mr. President may mean well to say, go on. But the implementation of it is horror. And moreover, today, there's no new Naira note, there's no old one. There's what you call it again. Like you say, we're illiterate as law. Damage control. When we have seen there's no new Naira note that is short of it, why don't we use the old one to acknowledge this pain? And they continue on until today. We don't know whether federal government have agreed with Supreme Court or Supreme Court have agreed with the federal government.
Well, thank you very much, Reverend Dominic, for calling in, and as I said, for holding on while we were on break. Well, it's not really well understood why we are in this position to most people. Although Senator Basiru, we've been speaking about it, we know the reasons we were given, but people still are able to think for themselves. And so people are wondering, why now, about a month to an important election? The president, for instance, I think it is sort of accepted, he's going to be kicking the subsidy removal can down the road for whoever comes after him to handle. This could have been kicked down the road too, Senator Basiru. It could have been kicked down the road too, but it wasn't.
Yes,
so you then see that people are confused. The Attorney General has said that, well, this is an administration that is law-abiding, has respect for the rule of law, so it will let the central bank's pronouncement stand, but the central bank has to vacate that order. The central bank doesn't have jurisdiction. And more utterances showing that they are not in agreement. Mr. President had said that there is no going back. It looks like this is going back to that whole statement of there's not going to be any going back. And people who were looking at the president as the father, and a father will not see his children, so to speak, continuing this analogy, in dire discomfort. But the president, knowing best, there is no soccer. He says there is no going back. In fact, the president said that it doesn't matter. Give people 3 months if you want. Even give them 1 year, there will still be complaints. So there's this whole situation where is all that care that we felt APC, your party, Senator Basiru, was bringing to us 8 years ago? Where is all that change that you promised us 8 years ago? Now we're looking at renewed hope. In fact, there are people who are saying that if it is the hope you people brought 8 years ago and you want to renew it, we hope it is a total different thing that you want to renew. Yes, Senator.
Yeah, Yori, it's a very terrible situation we have on our hands, which goes beyond politics. Issue of integrity also comes into question. We are sitting atop of our CBN today, and the entire financial sector is a politician. The drafters of the CBN Act will not emphasize that you have a politician with an ambition to become president of Nigeria sitting and not having, the dignity and integrity to resign, having enhanced, that intention to be president of Nigeria through whichever political party, which unfortunately is my own, political party. One would have thought that as a matter of integrity, having lost an ambition to become president, and he was afraid of running foul of Section 84, subsection 12 of the Electoral Act, we are aware that he was running from pillar to post, trying to get, court orders to be able to nullify that proposition.
That's right.
One would have thought that men of goodwill, men of conscience in the presidency would have prevailed on the president to do the needful under doctrine of necessity and ensuring that the sanity of our financial sector is preserved and not sacrificed at the detriment of pleasing an individual with such, legitimate but quite an incongruous ambition considering the position, that he was holding. So, of course, one would also surmise, therefore, that this is a newfound love for redesigning policy, which, of course, he got approval of Mr. President, may be a war by proxy to be able, to vent out his anger on our party for not, succumbing, to his ambition, and of course, some other individuals who are also backing him up in the villa, also trying to see this as a way of ensuring that APC as its last president in President Muhammadu Buhari. But I believe that Nigerians will be able to see that even with respect, in the past 7.5 years, more often than not, Ajibola Tinubu had been an outsider in that government. He does not have any position of responsibility given to him, and he does not even have any direct nominee in that administration. And for the first time of that administration, Asiwaju was more or less like somebody in political, exile. And the kind of opprobrium that was poured on him, even by elements in the presidency, including those that belonged, and I use the word belonged to our political camp and political family, speaks, to the resilience of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in making the journey, this far. So I believe that Nigerians should be able to make a kind of what I call disaggregation of the personality, the commitment, the sagacity, and the track record of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu from those individuals who think that governance should be used as a political tool in denying a Nigerian that has shown commitment to development and opportunity to get, overwhelming support of Nigerians at the poll on February 25, 2023. This is our appeal.
Okay, Senator. I beg your pardon, Senator. Ada has been holding on for so long. Good morning, Madam Ada.
I'm calling from Jos Plateau State, and Senator Basiru. I'm holding on because I always believe it will get better.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead now, Ada.
Let me tell you something, Mr. Yori. Let me tell you, Yori. I'm holding Mr. President responsible for what is happening. You've heard what Basiru said there and all that or whatnot. If the person is not doing the right thing, why is he there? The mere fact that he had that presidential ambition, when that thing happened, I was wondering, the electoral law and all that. Why is President Buhari not being firm and taking a hard decision? So all I want to say here is that we are not interested in whether ex parte orders, legal terms, state of execution, vacation of whatever. What we want is let them bring out the money and give us our hard-earned money. What we have, the money people are queuing up there to work for, is not even up to maybe 5 million or 10 million per day. That is in most of the banks where people are gathering. Why all this suffering? Are we committed a crime to elect President Buhari? And if they are talking grammar. Let me tell you something. It's not a question of whether they are setting up the masses against this thing. It is a natural phenomenon. If there's hunger in the land, that can make somebody to want to revolt against this thing. Is it because we are very docile? Is it because why pushing us too hard? Please, yeah. Mr. President, do something fast. We're not interested in all these interim injunctions. All the same, let's not give up on Nigeria.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in, Ada. I don't know, Senator Basiru, you might have read Olusegun Adeniyi's back page column yesterday, and one of the fears of that column was that the way this whole thing is going, there might be those who are plotting and could come up with extra constitutional schemes to arrive at where they want to be if they feel that they can't go through, quote unquote, the front door. But that's really to one side. The point had been made that this situation here could actually be hijacked. Why everybody is sitting and just looking as if to say everything is normal, and as Ada was saying, Nigerians are docile, Nigerians Nigerians are just gentle folk, and we are patient folks. As you know, I don't know, we've heard that universities have been asked to just go home for the meantime, and it just looks as if all sorts of preparations are being made. There are those who are saying that Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari has joined the campaign team of his party, the campaign team of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but reluctantly. So it is felt. It's a matter of opinion. He's doing there. But there are those who are saying that until all sorts of sounds were beginning to be made, Mr. President just didn't. It looked as if he wasn't interested in the candidature of his own candidate. That is the candidate of his own party. Of course, the president has said since then that that is you people in the party, are honored to have Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu as your candidate. But the whole thing is just looking one kind. I suppose maybe this is part of the aspects of a high office that ordinary people don't understand about. But we are in a state of confusion, is what I'm hearing from a lot of people. As we speak now, we don't know. One paper in front of me says, is the Punch. Confusion deepens as CBN deadline ends today. okay, we've now heard that they will be abide by it. So they will now go back on the 15th for the substantive suit. But Senator, please be patient. Let me put on Mr. George, who has called in from Lagos. Good morning, Mr. George.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the Senator.
Yeah.
Uncle Yori,
Thank you very much.
this matter, the president cannot be exonerated on this issue, but that is a different ballgame. The people around him are merely capitalizing on his sincerity and honesty, but that's not a defense for him not to act as the president of Nigeria. But where I'm really going is about Mefele as governor of Central Bank. I'm happy that the Senate spokesman is here. Please give me time to about 60 seconds to tell you something. When this incident started happening, I've been asking questions at Central Bank. This Supreme Court order, Mefele will not obey it, and you can see that he's not obeying it. Right inside the Central Bank there, Uncle Yori, this man has been sitting on a Supreme Court judgment for pensioners of that bank. For the past 10 years, he has not, the Supreme Court asked him to review and to harmonize the pensions of pensioners in the bank. He refused to carry it out. If you like, send your reporters to CBN to go and verify what I'm saying, whether there is a case like that or not. So he is not going to obey this. He's used to it. Now, what I want to tell the senator is this. You can see that, you as a Senate, you can see that the governor of Central Bank is trying to bring the country down. What I expect you to do, I had the time you asked him to extend it up to June. He refused. He even refused to appear before you as a Senate. You have the power to revoke the confirmation of his appointment. I think the Constitution permits the Senate to do that.
Okay.
Why are you waiting?
All right then. Mr. George, can we just put that situation to the Senator? Thank you very much for calling in. Senator?
Yes, Yori, the law does not allow us to remove the CBN. There's no such thing in the law, and that's part of the lacuna we have in many of our law. Why the law allow us to confirm certain appointments, same law does not give rule, to us in terms of removal. So maybe that may also give us a new line of thinking on amendment some of our law, such that when there appear to be collusion between executive, the president, when I say executive, and some of the functionaries of the executive, the National Assembly should have some role to play in intervening, like a kind of a deus ex machina. As it were today, I join Nigerians, to deprecate the incompetence of the CBN governor and his management, and therefore inflicting unnecessary hardship on Nigeria in an haphazard, inconsistent, and very callous implementation of the redesigning and the cashless policy.
Okay, Senator, Senator, I beg your pardon, sir.
Let me finish this, please. I want to say that it's also important to say that Mr. President should not play ostrich in this matter. He should come forward and come clean with Nigerian people. As a president, you cannot sit down and pretend that Nigerians are not suffering. Okay. Even if it's politics. Politics is about human being and not about, it's not an abstraction. So I want to call on the president of Nigeria. He's a leader of our party. He should be alive to his responsibility and oath is sworn to uphold the Constitution and address the potential problem of insecurity and the adverse welfare consequences of this terrible nightmare that the CBN has inflicted on Nigerian people. Okay.
In fact, I'm glad that you didn't let me interrupt you, because that was what I was going to speak on. That I was going to say that what you've been expressing, I think Nigerians would have appreciated it if we had. I use the analogy of father of the nation, the president, and all of that. For Mr. President to show concern, to show that this is worrying to him, to show that he's not happy, this has not happened yet. So, but we just leave that to one side. You've spoken on that. Now, I just got a couple of minutes more. I saw a video yesterday. The governor of Kaduna, one of the states that took the federal government, one of the three Yeah, 3 northern states that took the federal government to court on this whole matter. And he was speaking to people, and he had said that, look, if they won't let you get the money, don't bother changing your money anymore. Go ahead, continue to spend this old Naira, and, you know, maybe some sort of a local economy. He was predicating everything on this policy will be changed. I don't know what you think about that. I don't know what you think about El Rufai's speech.
I think the challenge I have, here in Osun is here. You know, I'm not in Kaduna, but unfortunately, because our people here are law abiding, before January 31st, my people in Central District had exhausted all their old currency. They had, as obedient citizens, deposited their money, and the banks have refused to dispense the old notes again. So the reality is this: both the old notes and the new notes are not in circulation. They're inflicting unnecessary pain and anguish on our people. And the solution of Governor Rufai would have worked, assuming we had known that there is this intention to just mop up the old notes and not release, the new notes.
Yeah.
Many banks in Osogbo, and I take pain to investigate, are not getting even a dime of the new notes. They are asking them to come to CBN Osogbo to pick old 50 Naira notes. A sister of mine that collected 10,000 Naira could not spend 3,000 from that 550 Naira note because they were torn, they were being mutilated. Some of them, they use sellotape to put into.
Yeah.
Just imagine if you collect 10,000 Naira and you cannot spend 3,000, as you cannot spend 6,000 out of that money. So what to call on the president? This is not a time to play ostrich. He needs to come out clean. Let them bring out the old notes, for God's sake. Let us, act. If you are implementing a policy,
okay,
and the policy is meant to advance a common, a good, and is now inflicting pain, we should be man enough, we should be courageous enough and do the needful. Let the new note be brought out, because I'm sure
we're going to have to leave it here.
Emefiele did not print enough copies or enough of the new notes. It did not, or otherwise it's holding it.
Thank you very much, Senator. We're going to have to leave it there. I appreciate your time this morning. That's been we've been having a conversation with Senator Ajibola Basiru, who represents Osun Central District. I beg your pardon? Did you want to say something? Yes, Senator.
Thank you very much.
Okay, then.
No, thank you. I said that. You said that I'm not in Abuja, I'm in Osogbo.
Okay, then. Thank you very much. So that's our program today. Official spokesman of the Senate. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition. I am Yori Folare. Goodbye for now.